it's important to have content that is valuable to your person. By thinking through this, you want to have something that has a good takeaway, a benefit to your right person, and is constructed in a really good way.
Most hosts never achieve the results they hoped for. They're falling short on listenership and monetization, meaning their message isn't being heard and their show ends up costing them money. This podcast was created to help you grow your listenership and make money while you're at it. Get ready to take notes. Here's your host, Adam Adams.
Now that we are here in the future, what is the absolute first way that people vet you before they decide to work with you? We're going to talk a little bit about social media on this episode. And this is your host. I'm Adam Adams, your host and your coach. I'm here to support you to be able to be, not just to have a podcast, but to actually have a podcast that gets results. So it's not good enough to just own a podcast and say that you are recording episodes if nobody listens. When you work with my team at Grow Your Show, we support you to make sure that you have a successful podcast that allows you to make money in your business, because you have the two things that every podcaster really needs and has a hard time getting: influence and income. It allows you to get the listener base so you can actually have an influence and leave your legacy, and income and make money because you have a podcast. You don't want it to cost you money. And we are talking about the first way that, now that we're here in the future, we're talking about the first way that people figure out if they ought to be working with you or not. And that is that they do a search. They do a Google search. They go on Facebook. They go on LinkedIn. They try to see if this is a real person. They try to see if this is the type of person that they want to work with. They try to see if other people are talking good about you or bad about you. So if you've got a business, one of the things that you absolutely need is a social media presence. In this episode, we're going to be talking about some of the key reasons that you need social media, how you be able to use your social media, and a huge benefit is I'm going to give you some social media algorithms that are going to be able to support you in getting better results with ease. Let's dive in. There was a gentleman that I met a few years back. And for this story, I'm going to just call him Tom. It's not his real name, and that's okay. There's this gentleman that I met at a real estate conference a few years ago. And he ended up giving me a phone call just recently. And when he gave me that call, it was kind of out of the blue. And he's like, "Do you remember me?" And I'm like, "Not really. I think so. I kind of recognize the name. I kind of recognize the story, but it's been a while." And he was raising money for a real estate project that he was doing, or that he wanted to do. It was a smaller project. It was a land development deal with just a couple of properties on the land development. So they were basically, it's called entitling it and subdividing it and allowing that property to be able to have multiple different units. And then they were going to build on one of them and sell everything to be able to make a little bit of money. And it sounded like a good project. So I said to Tom, "That sounds good. How much do you need? What's going on?" And he basically mentioned to me that he was having a really hard time raising money. And I asked him why. And he said, "It's because when people have reached out to me, they don't seem to be able to trust me, even though I have all this experience." And I thought to myself, what is he talking about? Why can't people understand? And I'm like, "Are you active on LinkedIn? Are you active on Facebook? What's going on?" And he goes, "Oh, no, I don't have any of that. I've got my website." And I pulled up his website, and it was very dated. It was built a long, long time ago. So I looked at the website. I looked into everything that I could find of him, and he didn't really have anything good to say about him. So I asked him, "Why don't you have a social media presence? Why aren't you active there?" And if we shorten the story with Tom, I found out that this guy seemed and felt to me to not quite, I just didn't know why I didn't want to work with him. Now, there's no proof that he did anything good, and there's no proof that he did anything bad. The issue was, I don't think I had the ability to feel good about Tom. And I don't think any of the other people that wanted to work with, that were thinking about working with him, had the ability to see him in good light. And it's because his website was a little bit outdated. And most importantly, he had absolutely zero social media presence. So I couldn't find anything out about him. And so, do you know what I said to Tom? I said, good luck. I'm out. I said, I'm out. Good luck. I hope you get this done on time. He basically wanted to borrow some money, leverage it against a certain property, and it couldn't pass the sniff test for me. And I believe wholeheartedly that the big reason why is because I couldn't see his pictures. I didn't know if he had a family. I didn't know what he was into. I didn't know if he had a good reputation or bad reputation. So I immediately was out. As with those other potential investors that he said he had been calling lots of people before calling me, and nothing panned out. So as you understand, as you know, we are talking about the 3 pillars of influence. There are 3 pillars. And as a reminder, think of it as a 3-legged stool. If one of those legs is a little bit longer or a little bit shorter, you'll probably be okay. You'll still be able to sit on that chair. It might be less comfortable. You might slide off eventually, but you will be able to sit on that stool, that 3-legged stool. When we talk about these 3 pillars of influence, influence is you having influence on the other people is your ability to bring them from where they are to where you want them to be. That's what influence is all about. And if you don't have these 3 pillars, at least pretty equally, you're screwed. So thinking of this, there's a know, like, trust piece of the 3 pillars. There's the know piece, the like piece, and the trust piece. In other words, there's the thought leadership piece, the social media piece, and the in-person or one-on-one piece, because you could do that on Zoom. On this episode, we're talking about social media. So that's really the like piece. It allows people to know, like, and trust you. And one of the things that it does the most is allows them to be able to like you. Now, if they don't like you, it's going to be real hard to trust you. If they don't know you, it's going to be real hard for them to trust you. So with Tom in this story, I had a really challenging time hearing from him, talking to him, and figuring out how can I bring money to his real estate opportunity if I can't even find him on social media. So I want to share with you a few of the things that people look for, what your passive investor is going to look for, your coaching client is going to look for, your fill in the blank here, whatever type of business you have, whatever kind of type of consulting you do, whether you do hypnotism, whether you are a psychologist, an attorney, or just a coach. I say just a coach. Coaches are awesome. I'm a coach. Whatever it is that you do, then I want you to understand that these are the things that people are looking for. These are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things that people really notice first on your social media. So get ready to take notes. We'll dive into these 6 things right now. The question is, how does your person vet you? How do they figure out if they can work with you, know you, like you, and trust you? On social media, what are they looking for? Here's the 6 things. Number 1, they're checking out your photos. And so I will let you know that there has been at least more than 30 people that I was going to potentially work with, and I didn't align with their photos. And you can say, Adam, you're a horrible person. You're the worst person I ever felt, noticed, heard of, because you're judging a book by their cover, right? And I'm going to say no. I'm going to say, look, if this person has photos of them doing this or that, and it really doesn't align with who I thought they were or how they're presenting themselves, I don't care about anything else except I can notice immediately, and so can you. You're going to notice, and your follower is going to notice this immediately. If that person's what they post on for their photos, who they're with, what they're drinking, etc., where they go, there's so many options. If you see this and it doesn't align with who they are presenting themselves to be, you're probably going to be out as well. You're going to realize that I'm not just the horrible person, that we all have a little bit of that. I want my person, whoever I work with, whoever I hire as a coach or as an attorney, I want them to live a lot of the values that I live. I like that. And so if you're one certain religion and they're a certain religion, you might be more likely to go with them. I love mountain biking. And I was raising capital for mountain biking. I'm ridiculous. Why would I raise capital for mountain biking? I was raising capital for real estate investing. A personal example of this for me is I was raising money for real estate myself. And my goal was to be able to close on the most amount of apartment communities. And some of the things that I posted on my social media, most of the things didn't even have anything to do with apartment investing. But interestingly enough, I had photos on there that were with me and my kids having fun, doing cool things, documenting the journey of being a dad and mountain biking. So I posted a lot of stories and I posted several pictures almost once a week for a while during the summer of just cool shots that I was able to capture while mountain biking. And I'd put my bike in there or I'd take a selfie with me and maybe my bike or the helmet on at least and whatever's in the background. And I remember two different guys, both from Utah, interestingly enough. I live in Colorado. These two guys probably do know each other, but they live in different parts of their state. And in both cases, they said that they liked my lifestyle. They liked that I got out and did this. And one of them just said, bro, he goes, I think that pretty much he calls them syndicators. That's when you raise money for big real estate projects. Exactly what I was doing. He goes, I think that pretty much every syndicator is doing about the same thing, offering about the same return. And why am I investing with you? He said, he offered this without me asking. He goes, why am I investing with you? He said, he goes, really, it's because you like mountain biking. I like mountain biking. I think we can get along. And I want to invest with people who are like me. So in this case, this gentleman ended up vetting me by following me on Facebook and noticing images and pictures and videos with my kids. Same thing with mountain biking and a little bit of content about real estate. And he said, this guy is my people. This is the type of person that I want to be around. This is the type of person that I want to work with. So instead of the other people getting his millions of dollars, I got his millions of dollars. So this is a great example. And most of that's photos. That's the first thing that people will see is your photos. So what are you using for your main photo? What are you posting on your story? What are you posting in other places like posts? And picture tells us 1,000 words. We all know that. Number 2, your bio. So for mine, my bio will say something like father of 2, mountain biker, traveler, and I help people with their podcasts. Something like that. I'm not reading it. It's not in front of me. But basically what I say, this is who I am. This is me personally, and I help people with their podcasts. We help people get ranked into the top 1% across the entire world. That's what we're good at. And it'll say something like that in my bio. And that's going to help. If the only part of your bio is just business, I don't think it's really going to work as well. And if the only thing that you're posting in your bio is about your personal life, I don't think it's going to work as well. So when you're creating your bio on your social media, it's going to be beneficial that you post a bio that has a little bit of everything. Tell you a quick story. Long time ago, I was single and I was talking to somebody about dating. This is years and years and years ago. And she said that I was too much about business. This is actually where I got this. She says, Adam, you're too much about business. I don't see anything about friends. I don't see anything about family. I don't see anything about hobbies. You don't have multiple facets to you. It's all real estate, real estate, real estate. And I don't want to talk just about real estate. And so I'm out, she said. She vetted me based on what I posted on social. And she believed that it wasn't going to work automatically because I was one-sided. So I'm certainly not asking you to only post about whatever your business is. I'm certainly not asking you to post only your family or your hobby. I'm asking you to be a well-rounded individual because that's what she was looking for. And that is what some of my passive investors for my real estate were looking for. And that's probably what your person is looking for as well. Have it to be a good collection of all of that. The next thing is content. So, what are you using for content? So, I have noticed that with my posts, whether it was podcast related, podcaster related, or whether it was related to real estate investing, it's important to have content that is valuable to your person. By thinking through this, you want to have something that has a good takeaway, a benefit to your right person, and is constructed in a really good way. I use Hook Story Offer to do that. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about Hook Story Offer when I talk about the fourth thing. So the first thing is your photos. The second is your bio. The third is your content. And I'm going to get into a couple tips when I get into the fourth thing. Number 4 is activity. And with the activity, what are the considerations? One of them is how often are you going to post? Because I know a lot of people, and you might be one of them. I know a lot of people are thinking to themselves, I don't want to be active on social media. Like, I hear that we should, but I don't know what to say. I don't know how to do it. And I definitely don't want to shove my product or service down my friends or family's throat, because I don't want to lose friends and family. Like, I should separate, business and my personal life. I'm hearing all of that. So when we were thinking about having the activity, another drawback or another concern that people might have is, hey, Adam, like, I don't have time to post on social media. I don't want to put the effort, or I don't even have a social media. So there's all of that. So let's talk about the activity. Once you have your social media, how frequent should you be posting? And that's good because it's a spectrum. I certainly think you should be posting at least once a month. This is the absolute bottom line, lowest amount. So once a month being the lowest, because you never want your person who's vetting you and looking you up to see that you haven't, quote, she hasn't posted in months. You don't want that. You want the minimum to be once a month. What's on the high side? Like, how often is too much, for example? And that might be twice a day. The absolute most might be twice a day. And so if you're hearing this, where does that put you in the averages? Where does that put you in the middle of everything? Once a month or twice a day? The average is about once a day. Let me talk about Gary Vaynerchuk real quick. I don't know if you've heard of Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. And there's also a bunch of other people that teach social media. Let's look at the people who say that they're the best at social media, say that they're making millions because of social media. Let's start with them. And Gary V is going to be at the top of my list. How often is he posting? If you follow him, you'll already know this. He posts dozens of times a day. He might be posting every 30 minutes or every hour. You might honestly see 20, 30 posts from Gary V just on one platform. Now, he's all over, and I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to start being every single place. I want you to be in just one place. That's a big takeaway. I want you to focus on one place in the beginning, and that's a takeaway that we're going to be talking about here in a moment as well. Before we get there, let's finish on the activity level, the frequency level. How often are you going to be posting? Probably the best is once a day. Gary V, probably dozens of times a day. Now, it's not just him. It's his whole team. He's always recording content. His team's going in, listening to it. They're repurposing stuff that he said a month ago. They're repurposing things that he said 5 years ago. They're repurposing things that he might have said 10 years ago. Okay. That is what they're focusing on. They're putting a lot of activity level. For you, just as a reminder, if you could post once a day, that would be great. And for me, I don't quite get there. I'm under once per day. Now, sometimes I might post like several times in a day, and other times I might not post for 2 weeks. As a general rule, I will probably post on average just less than once a day. Let's call it 5 times a week. It's either a post or a story or a Facebook Live. I'll post about 5 times a week as my average. You can use that if you'd like to. And as you're doing that, how do you do it? You're probably asking, what should you be posting about? Is this all business? No. Is this all personal? No. It goes back to something we already talked about with like your bio and even the content and, being a well-rounded, multifaceted human being so that you don't just have, one dimension, you're multidimensional. And going back to Gary Vee, to illustrate this point, he said, jab, jab, right hook. Jab, jab, right hook works differently on different platforms. I think you probably want to write that down. I'm assuming that if you write this down, it'll benefit you. Jab, jab, right hook. And would be a little different on the different platforms. So what you might do on Instagram or TikTok, it might be their own thing. What you might do on LinkedIn might be its own thing. And what you might do on Facebook might be its own thing. Reminder, I want you to focus on about one place, at least to start. I want you to focus on one place. You might be able to post in a few places, and that's okay, but I need your efforts to be in that one place. What does jab, jab, right hook mean? Well, Gary Vaynerchuk, the guy we talked about before, he was writing a book. He was writing a book and publishing a book, and it ended up being called Jab, Jab, Right Hook. And we'll get into what it means here in a moment. The thing that I think is interesting and could be beneficial for you to understand is when he wanted to publish it, he wanted to have lots more jabs and then a right hook. So I am not quoting him exactly, just know that. But he's told his publishers, he goes, yeah, I need it to be called jab, 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 right hook. And they're like, no, that's too many jabs. And he goes, no, you know what? Again, I'm not quoting him exactly, but he said, no, you know what? If you're not going to put that many jabs in it, then I'm not going to publish the book. Somehow they still won because it just got a little annoying with, let's call it 30 different jabs. That's a good takeaway, though, for you to understand as you do the jab, jab, right hook type style. Just understand that there can be a lot more jabs than, 2 out of the 3. The right hook is the call to action or the getting them to do something with your business in general. So I'm going to use LinkedIn and Facebook. These are pretty much polar opposites. Now, the other platforms might be a little bit different, and you should understand that. When we go to LinkedIn, it's mostly about business, and I think you understand that. When we go to Facebook, it's mostly about family, and I think you might know that as well. So if we're going to do a jab, jab, right hook if you and I were going to be doing a jab, jab, right hook style on LinkedIn, then what we'd probably end up doing is we would say something like, we'd give a little bit of value as a first jab. You would cater that toward the perfect client that you would work with. Who do you want to work with? And we'd add some value to that person. And so we would jab them ultimately just with value. Hey, here's a good thing. Hey, here's a benefit. Hey, here's a way to think of this. Hey, here's a way. And you would just keep giving those jabs. And that person would continue to say, man, this person, this guy, this girl is adding a lot of value. Man, that was another good one. And I'm going to share this post that Gary Vee just did. I'm going to share this with my buddy, Sarah. I'm going to share this with Andrea. I'm going to share this with John. And you start getting people to share your posts, and you're growing your social media platform, your social media following, your social media presence by doing all of these jabs, all of this content that's really valuable on LinkedIn. Remember, these are different. And then after you do a number of those, it could be 2 and it could be 30, just like Gary Vee wanted to do. And then on the next one, that would be the right hook. And if you understand boxing at all, and most of us don't because they haven't really had boxing until recently, they haven't really had a lot of boxing. Boxing used to be a lot more popular, and a lot of people did it, and a lot of people understood it. And these jab, jab, right hooks, the jabs are quick and easy. The jabs essentially just touch your opponent. You just tap your opponent. One of the things that people do with the jabs is they try to get their opponent, the other boxer, to move in a certain way, to block in a certain way. They try to see, how does this person standing across from me, how do they react when I do this? And if you do enough jabs, you're going to understand when and where to land your right hook. The jabs are quick and easy. They don't hurt so much. Of course, I would cry like a baby if I got a jab. In boxing, when you're used to taking those punches, though, the jab is just like, that's just the normal thing. The right hooks, though, those are painful. And you kind of have to set up your opponent. You kind of got to get them ready. You kind of got to watch them with all of your jabs. You got to see what they like, what they don't like with this content that you're putting on LinkedIn. And then you're ready. After you've set them up, you're ready for that right hook, just like Gary Vee would say. And the right hook is more of a CTA, or in other words, a call to action. It's an offer. The right hook is an offer. So you might be putting out content. I'm going to pretend you are an attorney for now. You represent people doing a certain thing. You put out content, boom. You put out content, boom, boom, boom. Content, good things, good thing. You watch how people react. You watch what they're looking for, what they comment on. And then you're ready for that right hook. You understand what they're looking for. You understand what they enjoy. And then you land them with something like, hey, I can set up 1 hour for you for half price if you're looking for help on this. Or, hey, if you're looking for support, or if you need somebody to talk to, schedule a free consultation with me, or whatever you want to do. You'll land that right hook after you've set them up, after you've got it all set up and you understand how they're reacting to your other content. So that's kind of the way that I think you should be doing it on LinkedIn. An opposite direction, or an opposite way that you might be doing this on Facebook is the jabs might be about like what I was doing. Your jabs might be about you going on a trip to Mexico and enjoying the sun, maybe possibly a cocktail if you drink, some food. I know some of you are rolling your eyes. You're like, this guy, you're not supposed to post your food. That's silly. That's ridiculous. You might do that. You might say, hey, here's some oysters that I like. And then you're going to attract other people that like oysters. You might say, here's some pizza that I like. You might attract other people that like pizza. Here's some Mexican food that I like, etc. And you'll do some of this where it's about your hobbies. It's about your friends. It's about the poker night that you do. It's about the concert that you went to. That's a rock concert or a screamo concert or a rap concert, or, fill in a country concert. You fill in, whatever it is that you do. And you start to kind of attract your people, the people that seem to want to know, like, and trust you. And on Facebook, this is the like. Remember, no, like, trust. On Facebook, this is ultimately the like part of the funnel. With that guy who saw that I really into real estate, I was really into mountain biking, I was really into doing cool things with my kids. He was like, you know what? This is the type of person that I can resonate with. And he decided to work with me instead of others. And the same thing for your follower, the person you're supporting or helping or want to work with. You want to be able to show who you are, show your true colors. And on Facebook, you'll do those things that you would normally share with your mom or your sister or your brother or a couple of your best friends. You'll put that on your Facebook so that they, meaning your potential client or investor, has the opportunity to be able to work with you. So the jab, right hook on Facebook is, here's a hobby that I'm doing, mountain biking. Here's my scrapbooking. Here's my 30 days with no alcohol. Here's my day 75 of 75 hard, for example. Here's me deadlifting 225 pounds for the first time in my life. These are your jabs. And then your right hook is something like, hey, my company or my attorney or my investment group has a property available that you could invest in. If you're looking to passively invest, and then give me a call. I would love to be able to help you get involved in real estate, something like that. And that's what it looks like. Jab, right hook on LinkedIn, jab, right hook on Facebook. Hopefully that is understandable to you. You see how you could be using this for yourself and for your business. So that's the activity. The next is the posts. And I mentioned to you that I had a couple of takeaways, and there's really one big one. When doing the post, yes, utilize the activity, use the frequency about once a day if you can. Yes, do jab, jab, right hook. All of those things are good for your post, but the thing that is the most good or the thing that is the most helpful is understanding the hook story offer framework. The hook story offer is something I talk about a lot with people that I'm helping to be able to be more active on social, to be able to have a better podcast, to be able to put out content for their person. This hook story offer is hook is the first thing. And there's two main things for the hook. One of those things is you could ask a question to gain the person's attention. The other is you could add a statistic to gain that person's attention. The story is the middle part, and it has three pieces to the story. I'm going to call it A, B, and C. A of the story is tell them what you're going to tell them. So as you start the story, let them know basically what they're going to learn. The middle part, B, of the story is you actually tell them, you actually teach them the thing with a story. And the third part, or C, out of the story piece of hook story offer, is tell them what you told them. So that way you wrap it up and you make sure that they have the takeaways. Then you go into what's called the offer. The offer is essentially a call to action. And if you are doing a call to action on social media, especially Facebook and LinkedIn, one of the best CTAs, one of the best calls to action that you can do is to ask that listener, to ask that follower. I'm such a podcaster, aren't I? You can ask that follower, the viewer, the person who's a follower of your social media, ask them to comment in the comments. We're going to talk a little bit about the algorithms as well in a little bit. And those algorithms are something that's going to be really, really important. And that's part of the offer. Because if you're doing the right type of offer, then you are going to get the right algorithms. The last piece of the 6, when it comes to what people are vetting for, what are they looking for, how do they find you, is professionalism. And that means that you are going to want to have the level of professionalism that comes naturally for you on your social media. You're going to want to have the level of professionalism that works for you. And that is different for everybody. For me, I don't ever wear a suit. If I can get away with wearing a t-shirt, I'm going to. I don't really want a button-up shirt. I would rather have shorts on. I'd rather have sandals on. I'd rather have my hair look messy. My level of professionalism is a different level of professionalism than possibly yours. So if you love wearing your dress, if you love wearing your 3-piece or 4-piece suit, your vest, your bow tie, if your hair is always parted, you name it. If you will understand your level of professionalism, mine is more relaxed. Yours might be even more relaxed than mine. And with that comes, how do you look? How do you dress? What do you say? What swear words do you use? Do you say, the F-bomb? Do you stay away from all cussing? Are you always talking about how, for example, Christ said this and the Bible said this? Whatever it is that that's your way of doing things. And that's exactly who you're trying to attract. You're going to allow that level of professionalism. You're going to allow that type of thing to happen. For me, I'm mountain biking. I'm having fun. I'm not going to put a bunch of pictures of me being drunk or wasted. And that's because I don't really believe in being drunk and wasted. I don't love doing it. It's not that I haven't done it before. It's not that I won't do it again, but this is not something that I represent. I represent health. I represent happiness. I represent working hard and finding out how to improve in business and being a good dad. So those are the things that I'm going to post on mine. So think about it for yourself. Do you like wearing suits? Do you want to wear the suits? Do that. Do you cuss? Do you not cuss? I cuss a little. And so I'm going to be me to the core. When I say professionalism, I want you to also be thinking of authenticity at the same time, because it's more than just your professionalism. I'm not trying to ask you to be perfect. I'm not trying to ask you to wear a 3-piece suit or a long dress and heels all the time. This is not the focus. Authenticity is the true nature of number 6 when it comes to what people are vetting for you. Because if somebody knows who you are and how you are, even if you're listening and you don't like it when I say shit, even if you're listening and you're like, oh, that offends me, or, the Holy Ghost can't be in the same room at the same time as somebody saying SHIT, then you might not be my person. We might not get along that well. Like, for example, if you and I get on coaching calls and I let that same language fly because I'm being authentic whenever and however I can to just be me. If you know that that's me, then it's really easy for you to make your decision about me. But if I fake to be, if I'm like wearing a 3-piece suit when it's itchy and chokes my neck, if I'm doing all of that out of integrity for myself, then that doesn't come across the right way to you. In my opinion, that's the same as the way that your listener, the way your follower, your social media person, your potential client needs to see you at the right amount of professionalism, which use that word authenticity as a bigger word than professionalism if you can. All right. So then when we talk about, we're going to go talk about focusing on one place just briefly. And then we're going to get into 2 algorithms that I think are going to set you apart from anyone else on social media. Things that are really going to support you to be able to make more money and be able to grow your podcast, grow your influence, raise more money, get more clients, whatever. So we'll go into those algorithms and they're pretty freaking cool. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, I'm going to talk a few seconds on focusing on one of these social media and why it's important. And then we're going to get into the algorithms. Hey, my friend, as you know, this episode is sponsored by my company, growyourshow.com. We want you to be able to have the best tools at your disposal without costing you a whole arm and a leg. So right now you can get a free list of vetted equipment that like mics, mixers, webcams, sound treatment, editing software, everything that you need. I created the whole PDF with direct purchase links just to save you time and money, to help it be more convenient for you. So this free PDF will help you skip all the guesswork. If it's on there, it's vetted and approved by yours truly. And if it's not on there, it's probably not worth the money. So go ahead and get yours at growyourshow.com/PDF. Let's get back into the show. We're back. We're talking about social media. You know that social media is the number one place that your person is going to figure out if they should be working with you. Remember the story about Tom and how he recently called me and tried to get me to invest. And I thought about it just like the other people did, and I couldn't come to it. And it was because I couldn't find him on social. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know him from Adam. And we are talking about the 3 pillars: thought leadership, social media, and meeting in person. This is the social media time. We already mentioned, the 6 things that really are going to help you, really that people are looking for. And that is, they're looking at your photos, they're looking at your bio, or they're reading your bio. And remember, I said a picture tells 1,000 words. The bio is number 2, the content. 3 is activity. 4 is your actual posts. I talk about jab, right hook. And then the last was the authenticity and professionalism. And now I want to just try to convince you, if you'll let me, try to convince you not to do too much all at the same time, not to think that, hey, Adam told me I got to be on social media. And so what I'm taking is I got to be everywhere, because that's really not what I'm saying. And I don't do that. And I've noticed from people that I've coached, I used to help a lot of people raise private equity for their real estate deals. And we did a remarkable job. I've helped a lot of people make a lot of money that way and on podcasting. And the thing that helps the most is understanding that if you can just go all in on 1, maybe 2 of these social media platforms, you're going to get the most amount of value. And then we'll move on to the algorithms that I know you're waiting for. I know you're waiting for the algorithms. Think of it like this. There is drilling narrow and deep, and there's drilling wide and shallow. The difference between a laser pointer, which is very narrow and goes very strong and powerful in one place, and there's shotgun or a floodlight, for example, that is going to kind of go everywhere just a little bit. You usually will only, write this down if you need to, you'll usually only get a couple of the low hanging fruit, they call it the low hanging fruit. You'll probably only get a couple people when you go wide and shallow. When you do the shotgun approach, you'll only get a couple people that already wanted your service or already wanted to invest or already wanted to hire somebody like you. When you do the shotgun approach, when you just jump in all of these places, you're only going to get one or two people. It just doesn't work. Though, if you want the best way to do it, if you think of like the rifle, the sniper rifle, the laser pointer, if you focus and go deep, if you go narrow and deep, you're going to really be able to make some real change and support and turn somebody's heart and add what I call true influence. And we're talking about the 3 pillars of influence. So if you want value, if you want to help people, you go narrow and deep. You dive deep. You use, for example, I said the sniper rifle. You might only shoot once, but you're going to get that one person. And everybody that you work with, it might be a little slower, but by going slower, you make a real connection. You are able to support that person. So I'm hoping that you're understanding, I do really need to focus on just one social media. I don't need to do blanket things. I don't need to be everywhere, at least to start. Just start with one. Now, let's talk about those 2 algorithms. And what is an algorithm? I'm going to share with you just a little bit of the algorithm so that you understand why is there an algorithm in place, and then we'll share those 2 algorithms. So why is the algorithm even in place at all? The algorithm is in place because the social media platform, I'm just going to call it Facebook for now. That's going to make it easier. Facebook needs to make money. They want people to stay on the platform. So they have created robots to understand if somebody's post is getting value or not. These algorithms are essentially bots that split test your post against the other person's post. Jamie just posted right now, and Emily just posted right now. So which one is going to work? Well, this person's doing this and that person's doing that. All right, we'll boost this one and we'll stop showing that one. And you're like, hey, but I was the one that they stopped showing. And you have been. You've actually been that person a lot of times, but have no fear. When we talk a little bit about this, you're going to be the person that gets pressed up. So what are the 2 biggest algorithms? Number 1 is, did they stop scrolling? Number 2 is, did they engage? The 2 algorithms are stopping the scroll and engage. Think of it like this. Facebook understands that people mundanely just scroll and scroll and scroll because essentially we want to be humored. We want to be taught something. We want to not be bored. Social media is not that good for us, but we got to use it to our advantage. So when your person, when your follower and your friend, your family is on your Facebook and you say something and they scroll past it, then you don't trigger that first algorithm. It's essentially split testing you and saying, hey, this isn't working. Let's not show it to very many people. So Facebook's gotten smart and they only show your post in the beginning. They only show it to a couple people. And if those people do those 2 things, stop scrolling or engage, if your people do one of those 2 things or both of those things, then they put you in front of more and more people. So you're only in front of a few people. And then if you do one of these things, they put you in front of more. So how does it go? If with stopping the scroll, how can you get somebody to stop scrolling? I want to do that. Adam, you're telling me I should do that. I need to do that. And I won't trigger any algorithms if I don't do that. So here's exactly how to do that. Go back to the hook story offer that I discussed before. And I told you that the 2 ways to give a pattern interrupt, the 2 ways to get people's attention the most, the 2 ways to get somebody to stop scrolling on social media, same thing, 2 ways to get your podcast to be listened to, is the 2 best ways are, write it down, asking a question or using a statistic. So the first thing you want to make sure is that you have a good hook. That hook is not going to be telling, it's going to be asking. That hook is not going to be something random, whatever comes out of your mind. It's going to be a statistic. So you are going to want to either ask a question or have a statistic. If you ask for advice, that's asking a question. And people are going to have a pattern interrupt and they're going to stop scrolling and you're going to trigger the first algorithm. Now, let's talk about engagement. The engagement is going to require the other two things. It's going to require a good story and a good offer. So, what is a good story and what is a good offer? So, the hook is the pattern interrupt, and the story is tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them, or tell them what you're going to teach them, and then tell them what you taught them. The story is going to usually use an actual story, something that really happened. It might be you, it might be one of your clients, one of your investors, it might be one of your friends. I talked about Tom in this episode. I talked about Tom. So for engagement, you want to have a good story. One takeaway that can help you with a good story is just remembering if you have a good hero, for example, in the story, and the hero is not going to be you. I wasn't the hero in any of the stories I've shared. It's usually somebody else. And you want to follow that hero's journey. I need you to just look this up to save time on the episode. The hero's journey is important, but I need you to look it up on your own. So the story, you're going to use like a hero's journey. You're actually going to say something that's true. And it's going to be engaging. It's going to be funny. It's going to be helpful. It's going to be valuable. That's your story. The story doesn't have to be long. The story can be one sentence. It could be one paragraph. It could be 3 paragraphs, or it could be long if you wanted it. Does not have to be. And to get engagement, you also have to have an offer. So to stop scrolling, you need a good hook. To have good engagement, you need a good story and a good offer. What's the other word for offer? Do you remember the other word for making an offer? We talked about it before. It's a CTA, or a call to action. So I'm going to share with you just real quick the best call to action. This is important. This is good for you. The best call to action that you can have on a social media, which is going to allow you to really gain the most amount of engagement. And that is, you're going to ask your follower, your friend, your family on Facebook or wherever you're doing this, you're going to ask them to comment below if they want the thing. So I'm going to use fictitious, quick idea of something that has a hook, story, and offer. It's going to go like this. The hook. Did you know that 97% of successful business owners use paid advertising? That was the hook. What did it do? It made you be like, huh. It made you start thinking. It made you start wondering. 97%. Is that a real fact? It is true, by the way. But is that a real fact? How does he know this? And I haven't been using paid advertising and I'm not being that successful. And so what's going on? Or I'm already a little successful. I wonder what could happen if I started adding paid ads. So the hook, did you know that 97% of successful business owners utilize paid ads? The story could be like this. Long time ago, I wanted to do paid ads, but I didn't know how to do it. And I actually failed a lot. And so I'm going to tell you the 3 things that I learned from failing at paid ads. And I eventually got it. It took me a couple of years, but I eventually got it. And there's 3 things that I did that were different. So that's part of the story. That's to tell them what you're going to tell them. And then essentially you would share the story and you would say, yeah, this is what happened when I was trying to run paid ads. I lost all this money. I didn't know what I was doing. And the first mistake that I made was this. The second mistake that I made was this. I would really do this differently. And the third thing that I did was this. And then that's the tell them portion of the story. And then you go into the tell them what you told them. So I'm hoping that you're able to learn from my experience, my terrible way that I did this, because I didn't know better. I don't want you to not know better. So remember to follow A, B, and C, and you tell them what you told them. You give them the 3 takeaways that they needed. And then you say something like, if that was helpful to you at all, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to give you more content like that. And then you get some people to start commenting below for that thing. Another idea is you could say, I can't believe that I'm starting a podcast. I knew that I would start a podcast, but I decided to do it. Have you ever thought about starting a podcast? I've always wanted to, but I'm finally doing it and I'm scared. I decided to do this one thing And let's just say you've got 4 images. You say, I got my artwork from my podcast. That's where you're going with it. And you've got these 4 images. So you might say something like to your listener, say, hey, I finally decided to do it. I was scared. I don't know if you've ever thought about doing it, but I found out that if you're not having a podcast by the year 2024, then you're probably going to lose in business. So I decided to do it. And I have some artwork that my team created for me, and I don't know which one to use. Can you weigh in on your opinion? And then you got the 4 images, the 4 different podcast artworks or logos. And they might have a little A, B, C, and D on the 4 options. And then you just ask for the opinion. You say, I really could use your help. Please let me know in the comments below which of the 4 podcast artworks you think I should go with. And so you're asking that question, you're getting that engagement, you're sharing the story, you're sharing the wins, the pros, the cons, the scary parts, and you have a call to action that's like, let me know in the comments, because they're more likely to engage if you ask them to engage. What others have done is they might put a link in the comments, or they might put a link in the post and say, here's my website, go to it. Or I put a link to all 4 of these images in the comments below. Those aren't going to work. You're kidding yourself if you think that putting a link in the comments is going to help you with these 2 big algorithms. You're kidding yourself if you put the link in the post or even in the comments down below. You're going to fail if you do that. You've got to get your person to engage. You ask, which of the 4? You ask, let me know if this helped you. I'd be happy to do more. Hey, if you're doing a live, hey, if you're seeing this live, let me know by doing #live. If you're seeing this on the replay, put #replay so I know who got to see it after. So these are the ways that you can gain engagement. And when you engage, Facebook knows that you're keeping people on their platform. Therefore, they know that you're helping them make money. And they have a split test that says, this person is engaging people. This person is stopping the scroll. We need to put more people in front of this post. So more of your followers will see it. You'll also get social proofing, because other people say what this person just posted was valuable because a lot of people did this. I should be interested in it too. And they're more likely to engage as well. And it's a vicious upward spiral to be able to grow your influence and help you get in front of the people that you want to be in front of. Remember, the next episode, we are talking about a thought leadership platform, how to use it, what to do. If you're scared about a thought leadership, all those questions are going to be answered. You just got to stay with us. I'll see you on that next episode.
Oh, hey, because 3 of my clients came to me recently looking to find a way to have their podcast make them money instead of cost them money. We put together a resource for some of our clients, and I want to give it to you as well. It's something that did actually seem to help, because one of them is now making $2,600 a month. Another one's $4,500 a month. And the third is making between $5,000 and $10,000 each month. And so it's been a resource that's been incredibly valuable to them. It's our sponsor sheet template. It's a template of a sponsor sheet, and it gives you something that you can hand to potential sponsors and hopefully also be making $2,600, $4,500, or between $5,000 and $10,000 regularly each month with your podcast. So this has been a contributing factor to helping all 3 of those clients turn their podcast into an additional income stream for them. And the way that you can find it is just going to our website, growyourshow.com, but put in /templates, growyourshow.com /templates. And then you can actually download that template and others that could be valuable to your podcasting experience. I'll see you on the next episode.